everyone, welcome back to our third part of the popcorn container. We're going to be working on the back panel in this video, and I'm so excited because we're going to learn some new things here. But the pattern starts out, we're going to use the red yarn this time, and we're going to chain 21, and so let's complete our slip knot. We've got to get our yarn on our hook. So let's do our slip knot here. And we're going to put our end in the front, our working yarn in the rear. And we're going to hold on to it with our thumb, middle finger. We're going to take this around. Cross it over onto the middle finger. We're going to take the end back around and grab that also with the middle finger and thumb. And we're going to take this stitch over top. And we're going to tighten up to our hook here. Alright, now that we have our slip knot on our hook, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start our chain, and it's a chain of 21. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So here you go. I have my chain of 21 here. And now for row 1, the pattern says starting in the second chain from the hook, which we did before in our last, in the base of the popcorn container. And we're going to single crochet across, and then you should end up with 20 stitches, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn. So to get you started out here, we're going to go into the second chain, and you know I don't like to use this front of the chain. I like to use my bumps down the middle of the back. So I have my first one, my second one, I'm going to go into it, and we're going to do a single crochet, which is pull through once and then pull through 2. We're going to go into the next bump here, pull through 1, pull through 2, and we have the next bump. Through 1, pull through 2. Okay, so let's continue on to the end of here, and I'll meet you back once you have the 20 stitches Okay, so we're back here, and I checked my 20 stitches. Make sure that you also check yours as well. But I got my 20 stitches done, and now we're going to chain one that's over and through, and then we're going to turn our yarn again, or work. And our project's starting to grow, yay. And now we're going to go on to rows 2 and 3. We're going to single crochet 20, chain 1 and turn after row 2 only. So 2 we're going to chain 1 and turn, 3 we're going to stop. So let's get this on the roll here. I'm going to go single crochet, through once, pull through 1, pull through 2. Under that V, pull through once, and we're going to hook again, pull through 2. And we're going to continue on to through this row. We're going to chain the 1 and turn, and then we're going to go down the next row, and we're going to stop. And then I will meet you back as soon as I have it done. Okay, so I'm back, and I've completed my row 3, and I did not do a chain here at the end of row 3. And now it's going to get exciting. We're going to be changing colors here. I'm going to read you this little note that was put on this pattern so that you understand a little bit of what we're going to be doing. So the note says there are several color changes for this piece. When changing colors, simply drop the old color, pick up the new color, and continue crocheting as normal. There are only 4 times when you'll need to carry the red yarn, and those instances are noted throughout the pattern. There are also 4 times where you will need to cut the white yarn, and those are noted throughout the pattern. This pattern is written so that when there is a color change, all you have to do is carry the yarn up the few rows and where it was last dropped. So what the note is saying is in the base, when I showed you how to hide your tail within your work, some rows we will be carrying our yarn, and what we'll be doing is yarning over to hide the piece as we go, and it's noted throughout this pattern, letting you know when that change will be, when you're carrying and when you're cutting. So it's all pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we're going to put our white yarn in here. So what I do is because this is my red and this is how I carry my yarn, what I'm going to do is I'm dropping the red and I'm going to carry the white. This is the end here behind my work. So I'm going to take that little bit that I have here, and I'm going to hold it like I would hold the red. And I hold it in between my middle finger and my thumb, just like that, to make it so that it can't go anywhere. Because once you make this chain, because we're going to chain one, and then we're going to turn. So we're going to turn our work like this. We still have this white tail back here. So in order to hide that tail, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide it like I did in our base of the popcorn container. The red we're just going to snip off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this next row, which is row 4. I'm going to do my single crochet here, hiding my white tail there, and I'm just going to pull this red a little snug here. I'll pull the white a little snug, all of those ends there, and I'm just going to leave a tail here long enough to be able to weave in. Cut it off. And then with this end of the white, I'm going to run the tail up here. I'm going to carry the tail for a few stitches. Okay, and then just how I showed you before, when we're hiding our tail, we're going to snug it a little bit so it's nice and tight. This piece piece that's inside of there, tighten it up a little bit. And I want to go ahead and snip that. And then we will pull it back out. And we're going to continue on this row 4. We're going to do 20 single crochets. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to do our row 5, chain 1 and turn, and then what I'd like you to do is stop there, and I'll be back with you when I get mine done. Okay, so here I am. I did my row 5. I chained 1 and turned. So what the pattern wants you to do with row 6 is to carry the red yarn in front of the work. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to take my end here of the red, and I'm going to leave myself a little tail so that I have something to weave in later on. And We're going to continue on with the white through this row, but we're going to keep this yarn like on the top and of the bumps and hide it in between our yarn. So I went into, I don't know if you saw that, but I go into my stitch. I'm going to pull my white through, and you'll see I have my red sitting inside of there. And then I'm going to do my single crochet, and I have this red still sitting inside, so I'm going to keep going under. I'm going to take my next stitch, go under, grab onto the white, keep that red inside of there, and complete your double crochet. And what I do is I just do a few of my single crochets, and then like I did before, I just pull this red here on either end. You can slide it through if you want a little bit, slide it through that end a little bit. But what happens is it starts to hide very nice and neatly in there. And then I'll do a few more, and I'll do the same thing to keep adjusting the red inside of there and make sure that it stays hidden. But I'm going to complete this row of 20, and then when I'm finished, I'll be back. Okay, so here we're going to change to red yarn, and we're going to chain one with it, and we're going to turn. Now, when changing to the red yarn, it says to bring the white yarn forward, yarn over with red, and continue with the chain one and turn. So we're going to chain one, and we're going to turn. Now see, this is going to be the inside of the bag, so the red that you see here through our white should be no problem. Now for this, we're just going to bring the red yarn up. We're going to drop this white here and leave it attached. Just drop it down and leave it there. And snug it up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and do our single crochet. And keep doing our 20 single crochets for our row 7 and 8, and we're only going to chain one after row 7. So at the end of row 8, don't do a chain, and I'll be back with you at that part. Okay, so we're back, and we did our 7 and 8 rows, and now we need to change to the white yarn, and we're going to chain one with the white. Now when changing to the white yarn, we're going to bring the red yarn forward and we're going to yarn over with the white, and see, we dropped it here, so we're going to just pick it up and we're going to use it to make our chain. And we're going to chain one, and we're going to turn, and the red yarn, we're just dropping it in the back, see, and we're going to continue to do our rows 9, 10, and 11 with the white. And what we're going to do is chain one and turn after row 9 and 10 only. On row 11, we're going to carry that red yarn again in back of the work. We're going to do that. Let's go ahead and get started with this row here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to stop for a moment, and I just want to make sure that this is not pulling too tight here on the edge. And I have my red back here. Okay, so continue on with rows 9 and 10, and then when you're getting ready to start on number 11, I will meet you back here, and we'll continue on with the instructions for the red yarn. Okay, I'm back here at the end of row 10, and I wanted to make you aware of something. I did notice this in another row, but this stitch is really tight here because I snug up this yarn when we're starting the row out, so it's a little hard to see, and sometimes you have to like move the yarn around a little bit to get it up in there, but you have to you really have to double check. Make sure you count these stitches up here every so often. Make sure that you have 20 up there still, and I do quite often. I hate tearing my work down so, and starting back over, so it's something that I try to at least make sure that my stitch count is always correct. And anyway, let's go on to row 11. On row 11, we're going to carry the red yarn in the back of the work. So let's make our chain and turn, and then we want to bring this yarn up here that we have on the ball that's like just hanging here waiting for us to grab back onto it. So we're just going to bring it up, and another thing for future reference, I'm like looking at these ends here, and I actually could have started dropping the yarn back here instead of having to weave these ends in. I really dislike weaving in ends, and you'll see it's kind of tedious, but at the end of this video I'll show you pretty much how that process works. And like this end here, we will easily be able to hide, I'm sure, at the end somehow, rather than having to weave it in. But these ends we definitely will have to weave in. I think the pattern might not have you carry like that, because I notice that my yarn gets all tangled up because we're only doing a couple, it's a small project, and we're doing, you know, a small amount of work, so we're going back and forth quite a lot, and it does make it a little confusing with the yarn. But that's the only reason that I could think of why the pattern doesn't have you just drop the yarn in that first one. It doesn't note it, and that's why I didn't do it, because we're actually carrying the red this time once again. But anyway, for this row 11, let's get in here into our first stitch, and make sure you're underneath of this red, and we're going to go ahead and pull our white through. Make sure your red stays in there in the middle, and we're going to go ahead and do our first single crochet, and move on to our second, and we're going to continue to hide this red. Let's go up a couple stitches here. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll just drop my work here. And let's snug up this red in here a little bit. And you know, it's just a little loop there at the end. We're going to be able to hide this stuff, so any of the stuff that kind of looks like, oh, what are we going to do with it, at the end, it's all going to work out. It'll work itself out. So let's go on and continue. And when I'm at the end of this row 11, I will be right back with you. Okay, so here I am at the end of row 11, and we're just going to pull this white yarn forward again, and we're going to change to our red. So we're going to do a chain, and then we're going to turn our work. Let's get in this first stitch and continue with our single crochet, our rows of 20 single crochets, going from red to white, red to white. Okay, now this is we're gonna be finished with this white for now. So, and see, this is where that stitch is getting tightened up when I'm doing this. So you want to snip off the white here. make a tail, and go ahead and snip long enough for us to weave it in. And then we're going to continue on, and this is going to be row 12 and 13 and 14, and at the end of 14 we are going to chain one with the red and turn, and I will meet you back there. I'll go over a few more things with you, but this will basically be the end of our video. Okay, so I'm back here. I did my chain one and I turned, and we're at the end of row 14, and this is going to be the finish of the back panel of our project, of our popcorn bag project that we're doing. And I just wanted to show you because this is a very tedious job, and I really don't care to do it, but I kind of wanted to show you what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this out. Let's see here. But I want to show you, we want to thread our yarn needle here. And when I say to you that we are going to hide these ends, I want to show you what I'm talking about. You're basically going to run it through the pattern, your yarn that you have left over, and I like to run it up in between the stitches to hide it away. And this makes it a lot easier. You don't have to leave knots everywhere in your work, and everything gets hidden nicely. And usually you won't have a problem with anything falling out either. You know, unless the dog gets a hold of it. But it's a nice way to snug up your end, and it won't look, you know, sloppy, because it'll be hidden in between the same color of yarn and right in between the stitches that you're making, so you don't have anything that looks like, where it looks like it was a different stitch put there, like there was a mistake in it or anything, because it's hidden nicely like that. But then what I do is, after I go a little bit in, I just pull my work, just snug it up, then I will snip it closely, and I pull it back, and it'll all go into, you know, your work. Make sure that there's no like lumps or anything. Everything all still looks good on the work. You don't see a whole bunch of stitches in there or anything messed up. It all looks natural. And I wanted to show you that because we have these few ends to hide here, and you basically can put them away whenever you feel like it. This one I probably will not mess with. I'll leave it there until the end of the project so I know where I began at. But these two I probably will move up inside and hide them maybe before the next video, because that video we're going to go on to the side panel. No, this is the back panel we just did, so we're going to be working on the side panel now, and that's going to be fun and interesting. It's going to be more things to learn, which is great fun. But now that I'm finished with this part of the container with you, I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you next time. Please find additional help in my descriptions below. Always please subscribe to my channel for the latest updates to my patterns, and leave thumbs up, you know. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave the comments below. Ask away. If you see something in one of my videos that you're not sure of, I'm always willing to help. So see you next time.